Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Oh, there you are. I was hoping I'd cross paths with you today. I'd like to invite you to visit the Story Well. It's a place where storytellers of all stripes gather. From improv performers to authors, screenwriters to playwrights, we all tell stories. But we're not here to talk about craft. We're here to make something out of nothing. Each episode of the podcast, your host, that's me, sits down with a creative person, and based on a series of random prompts, we get elements that we make into a story. Will it be a noir novel about King Kong? Or a Broadway musical about JFK? Even we don't know. That's the fun part. But what do you get out of this, besides a good time with fun people? Simple. The idea is then yours. That's right. Whatever we come up with, we give it away for anyone to use however they'd like, no strings attached. It's like each episode comes with a free prize inside. The Story Well with Kyle Olson. We'll save you a seat at the table.
Okay, now for the lightning round.
I'm so good at lightning rounds. That's from Friends. It's my favorite show.
20 seconds on the clock starts now. Who is the captain of the USS Enterprise?
Oh, crap. Is it, Captain Stubing? No, Morgan? Crunch?
Next question. Which superhero is Tony Stark?
Stark. Did Game of Thrones have superheroes? I only watched 2 episodes.
What planet were Luke and Leia born on?
Planet Fitness?
Oh, time's up. Sorry. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hey everybody, Mandy Kaplan here. Please check out my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, where each week an incredible guest tries to baptize this mainstream mom into the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and all things nerdy. Available wherever you podcast.
That's our show, folks.
Wait, I just thought of it. Padme Amidala gave birth to her twins Luke and Leia on Polis Massa. No, that's dumb. Is it Planet Hollywood?
Coming up on The Devil's Details. YAAASS, Queen! We're talking about Lilith. Slay.
Serve.
Mm-hmm.
Wig.
Wait, what?
Wig.
What's wig?
It's like you go.
Oh, you...
It's like, yeah. Wig girl.
Wig girl. Okay. Is that an acronym? Or
No.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm learning today, folks. All right. This is stuff they don't teach you in schools. All right. Good morning, Star, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just 2 lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. And folks, I am so excited. It is about time we got us a strong, independent demoness running this hellhole, calling the shots, and doing it all while being a mom at the same time. We are, of course, talking about the mother of demons, the queen of hell herself. It's Lilith. And holy hell do we need her right now, empowering women, letting them know they can say no. They don't gotta submit to no Adam. They're made of the same clay as he is, and if he don't like it, well, he can go kick rocks. But they haven't invented shoes yet, so it's probably not going to be pleasant. But what the hell are we talking about him for? We're here for Lilith. Folks, this is a fascinating figure who, frankly, does not get enough attention compared to her male demon counterparts, which is crazy. We have more stuff about her than we do about Lucifer, about Mammon, about Moloch, Azazel, any of those guys. Remember those categories I made a few episodes ago? Folks, Lilith is scriptural. Mm-hmm. She is apocryphal, she is appropriational, she's mythical, she's allegorical, she's literary, and yes, parts of her story have also been fabricated. Remember, that's the last category reserved for when people make stuff up not for entertainment but in order to hurt other people. And we can certainly agree that a good deal of Lilith's lore came from men's attempt to literally demonize women.
Yeah. That's a whole lot of it, and then now we'll get this towards the end, but we've fabricated even more of Lilith's tale to retake those stories essentially,
yes,
and feminize them.
All right, taking it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lilith covers all 7 categories of demon, right? She is in a class all by herself. And I don't think any other demon can say that other than the final draft of the work in progress that is the capital S Satan, all right? So maybe by the end of this podcast, he will have caught up with Lilith in terms of completeness. But certainly none of his parts just by themselves are as interesting as, like, you can't even compare like them to individual pieces of her puzzle. Like oh, she was Adam's first wife. Like, what? Like, I never knew about that. Tell me more. Like, how come we all don't know about this? Well, maybe we all do. Maybe I'm the last one. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, I had known that she was Adam's first wife, but then didn't know the part about the reason why they got divorced or whatever you want to say until you had mentioned on our show a couple many months ago, I guess, at this point. But yeah, I know the first wife part, and I just assumed, I don't know, they drifted apart or something. Oh yeah, they just started
give them a break. It was the first relationship ever.
Right, exactly. They got together, millennia ago, and then they were like, "Oh, we were just different people back then." Once we started having other people around, I just didn't recognize you anymore.
Having other people in the world does that to a person,
Right. But no, it's much more acrimonious than that. In all the stories, it's acrimonious.
Yes, I agree. Keenan, what is acrimonious?
Oh, with acrimony, of course. No, it means to.
I knew that.
It's bitter. It's not a pleasant breakup. They don't consciously uncouple. They get into it.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, so now let's get into it, folks. So according to some interpretations, Adam had a wife before Eve. I'm actually glad about that. I think they make a good couple, Adam and Eve, right? It rolls off the tongue. It's like Adam and Eve, right? It's like, oh, honey, we got a party tonight. Like, who's coming? Oh, Adam and Eve. Oh, yeah, they bring that casserole every year. It's awesome, right? And it's a nice garden party, right? It's outside, right? You got Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebecca, David and Bathsheba. They're always fun. And then you got Lot and.
Lot brings the seasoning to the barbecue.
Ow.
You okay? You pulled something?
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
What
happened?
Ow.
Oh, no.
Hang on, give me a second.
Okay.
Folks, this is not a bit. I'm really old.
Oh, no.
And that was really funny. Ow. Okay. Yeah, the seasoning.
All right, you all right? You got to go.
No, but I got to keep going.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Jeez,
so
sorry.
So you got lot. Yeah. No, don't apologize. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Lot and and then you got Noah and
I don't think we know enough about his wives to make any jokes, right?
No.
Okay.
And is Lilith at this party? No. She was invited, but she's got her own party down the road at the bar she owns. Actually, can we change the name of this thing, right? The one we made up for our lore, right? The Dante's Ninth Circle Sushi Karaoke. It's too much. Like, it stresses me out. I don't want to go somewhere after a long day in hell and get more stressed out. Can we get some, can we get some nice lighting in there, some semi-private booths with some, nice leather seating. And at the bar, you got backlit bottles, premium glassware, crystal, mahogany bar top, comfortable stools, right? I still like, though, it's kind of hard to find. You can't see it from the street. You gotta go down some steps, right? And there's a bouncer, huge dude, right? His name is you see it on the little little name tag. It's Behemoth. He's got the head of an elephant, right? And biceps the size of your head. And he never forgets a face. So don't be acting up in this place, or you're never coming back. And behind him, just this door, very unassuming, right? And above it in neon, right? This is the only neon thing, right? It's just the name of the bar, very subtle, very classy, very nice, very evil. It just says Lilith's.
Right.
Right. And you go in there and everybody knows your name.
Of course, that's where I know Lilith from. Is from Cheers. That must be on purpose, right?
It has to be.
Yes. So I guess we'll talk about that at the end of after we tell everyone who Lilith is, the real Lilith.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Which we haven't done yet. But that's par for the course on Banana for Scale shows. But yeah, okay. So let's get back to the beginning. In the beginning, literally, we're talking about Genesis, folks. Here's where it gets interesting right off the bat. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, we get this line, quote, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." Yeah. But then almost immediately in Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 to 22, we get, quote, "So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man and brought her to the man." Mm-hmm. So there we go, right there. This creation story has two beginnings. So what's the deal with Genesis? But no, folks, like this is supposed to be the greatest book. It's the book. It's shared by the three Abrahamic religions. It's contribution to literature, to story structure. This is chapter 1. It's like you go to Barnes and Noble and you pick up a book and it's like, "In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit," right? And then you turn to chapter 2 and it's like, "In a house on a hill there lived a hobbit."
But see, like with Tolkien, I just assumed that I didn't understand it enough, and there isn't actually a problem here with this chronology. I just figured like, oh well, they misspoke, or
I think that's how the Bible gets away with most of its
yeah, exactly.
flops.
So I'm like, whatever.
It's like, it must be my fault.
Yeah,
it's my problem.
Everyone likes. Again, I haven't read Tolkien. I've only seen the films. I've seen several versions of the films, right? The Rankin and Bass one as well, and all that. So I'm just
I
like,
love
well,
the Rankin and Bass one.
yeah, they're. I don't like it as much as these people. I must not be understanding it. I think it's fine. Yeah, but I don't understand it as well as these people, so it seems to be like a me problem. But so what some people have done is they've been like, no, it's not a me problem in this inconsistency in Genesis, it's a clue. And so we need to reinterpret this, right?
Exactly, yes.
Two origin stories for man and woman.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I like how, I thought I had this written down, but like in chapter 1, right, what does it say? So God created mankind in his own image, and mankind stands for both male and female, right? So not only it doesn't say, what I'm trying to get at is, it doesn't say, so God created male and female in his own image. They specifically use the word mankind, right? Yeah. So
right.
But yeah, let's.
But then if you use the second one, right, and again they're in the same book, presumably by the same author or authors. But then if you use the second one, so it is like God created this one man, Adam, and created him in his own image, and then the woman is a copy, a facsimile in some way. Right.
Yeah. So they those have very, very different connotations, which have I mean, kind of responsible for like all of culture coming after it. But yeah, like Keenan was saying, these two accounts created the need for even more stories to be written in an attempt to explain this apparent inconsistency. One of the earliest of these is called the Midrash, a collection of stories, interpretations, and letters which try to answer this question and others like it found in the Torah. According to the Midrash, God needed to create woman twice, once with man and then again from man. So Adam had a wife before Eve. Now, the woman or women in Genesis 1 are never named, but we know the second one is Eve.
Right, because we continue on with their story. But in some of the midrashes, they will refer to Eve as the second woman and the second wife. Right. So very early on. So some of them are written like in 300 CE, 500 CE. And yeah, it's going to be messy as we go through because there are several dozen iterations of people trying to reestablish like the origin story of Lilith and therefore the origin story of Adam and Eve.
Yeah. And I was, folks, I was joking before. I was like, oh, it's like this is chapter 1. Look at all these plot holes and everything like that. But that's how it's that's how, like, if I was making a fake creation story or a fake Bible for my fictional land, and
right.
I would have all these inconsistencies because that's what happens, right? You uncover bits and pieces, right? It's a hunt for like all these little puzzle pieces, right?
Oh, that's interesting. So, right, if it were smooth and if it read like the canon that comes with the tabletop game or something like that, then it wouldn't read like a real origin or myth, what do you call it, creation myth or origin story of the universe, right? Because it would be too smooth.
Because all like actual religious texts are. thousands of years old, and they have been broken up and they've been lost, through the sands of time, and we're only now kind of like picking them up and interpreting them, and of course, like we might pick up, I don't know, a B text of somebody's play or something like that, and think that's the only one. But and then that informs everything until we find the A text. But it's like if we had found what we discovered to be chapter 1 before we had found chapter 2, it would be it would shake out completely differently as far as like how it influences culture.
Right.
Like if we had found these things in order, then a much different message would have come out of it. But just as it happens, we happen to bump into, it's like, oh, here's chapter 5. Chapter 5 of what? I don't know. But like, let's just fill in the blanks until we find something. And then we do fill in the blanks. And then we get so, married to those filled in blanks. And then we find, oh, no, this is the actual stuff that's supposed to go in the blanks. And we have trouble coming to terms with that.
Yeah, and reconciling it.
There we go, reconciling. That's what I'm saying. But no, what we were trying to talk about the two accounts of Genesis, right? It was like where the first one where man and woman are created at the same time equally, and then the other one where a woman is created out of a rib, right? And people are just like, what is this? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And now some modern scholars give us what is known as the quote, documentary hypothesis, which is that Genesis is a composite of multiple texts woven together over time, which is why you have these discrepancies, right? These overlaps. It suggests that the Pentateuch, that's the first 5 books of the Bible, is derived from 4 main sources. So first you got I think I'm saying this right, the YAAASS, right?
I think that's how I would do it, right?
Yeah, the JAAHWIST, right? And that's God called Yahweh. And in these parts, God walks and talks directly with humans like a character in the story, right? That's the YAAASS texts. Then you got the Elohists, and that's where God is referred to as Elohim, and he is more distant. He is speaking through dreams and angels rather than appearing in person. So already these two very, very different interpretations of God. And then you got Deuteronomist, and these parts of the text focus on laws and proper worship, especially like centered around Jerusalem, centered on the Jerusalem temple. And then finally you have priestly, which is all about ritual details, family trees, portraying God as beyond human experience.
Right. So that like people know there's God, but that sounds more like how we might think of God today. Like we know God is there, but we don't have direct interactions with him in the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of these still exist. I mean, certainly, within the Pentateuch, they're all still there, right? Because all these sources come from those places. But yeah, I think we shift as the years go on as to the question of what or who is God. But yeah, so all of these texts, all written by different people at different times and places, right? And then later kind of compiled into what we know as the Pentateuch, or the first 5 books of the Bible. And that would explain why we essentially have here what could be 2 versions of the same story. However, some people believe that this is not 2 accounts of the same story, but 2 different stories and 2 different women being created. And gosh, we know the second one turns out to be Eve, so who was this first one? So,
and how do we use it to be mean to chicks?
Yes. But yeah, so we get one answer from the Alphabet of Ben Sira. This is a medieval Jewish text. So already right there, medieval, we're talking way later, right? From the rest of these, from the rest of the Pentateuch, right? But it states that Lilith was Adam's first wife. In this text, Lilith is created from the same soil as Adam. They are literally and figuratively on equal ground. Now, in this text, Lilith wishes to be treated as an equal and not subservient to Adam. Interpretations get even more specific here, saying she refuses to lie beneath Adam during sex.
I did not pick up on that part of it, that it's sex specifically.
And I think, like, during this time in the ancient Near Eastern cultures, like including Hebrew society, physical positioning often reflected, social hierarchy and power dynamics. I mean, it still has an echo of that today, but back then it would have been more baked in, I guess.
I'm looking at it, and I guess I'm just not in the right. Now that I look at it, it's very clear. Right. So Adam and Lilith immediately begin to fight. She said, "I will not lie below," and he said, "I will not lie beneath you, but only on top." But of course, lie means sex. All right. I just thought it was figurative, but no, that's literal there.
And Adam, what's your problem? Like, what's it's like mix it up a little bit. Come on.
This is Adam again. "For you are fit only to be in the bottom position, while I am to be the superior one."
Oh, shut up, Adam.
Well, I guess I need to get my mind into the gutter more when I read Apocrypha.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to get that apocryph philosophy. I don't know. But obviously. Oh,
let me go on to that now that I'm thinking about it properly with sex. But that's just so interesting, right? Like. So I know you're saying it's culturally specific in that, but like to culturally prescribe that there's one way to make love to your wife. This is your wife, and that the only way to do it is in one position, and that position must mean that you are superior, not just in the act, but in your relationship outside of the act. Right. That is very, very different for. Maybe not all of us, but that's very, very different from the way that some people, most, I don't know. I don't even know how many anymore. I don't know, Lester. But that's very different from what we would say today. Like you're in the bedroom. That's not who you are when you're working with the family checkbook. That's not, that's an entirely different thing. Yeah.
It's, and it has nothing to do, like, and it's not like, it's like, this is more comfortable. This is more, I don't know, beneficial to having babies or anything like that. It's literally, it is baked in. This is like, it's almost a religious act. And doing it wrong is almost like a blasphemy.
Oh, geez, yeah. I missed that part of it, so thanks for going on a little tangent there with me as you think about this. But
yeah, obviously, folks, Lilith is not happy about this, right? And in this story, she utters the ineffable name of God. And I think, the unutterable, but I also think, like, in some versions, it's telling us that this is the true name of God, right? And then she flies away from Eden. And I like how that's just like casually dropped in there. She flies from Eden, right? It's either a clue that she's already a demon or always was, or that humans haven't been finalized yet. So like Adam could fly after her, but he doesn't, right?
Why would he need to? He needs to stay in Eden. Eden's great,
right? Because that's what good little Adams do, right? Yeah. Or, I mean, hey, Lester, maybe it could just mean that she flees from Eden. Ever think of that?
No, boring. No, but I don't think so, because then we have, as you're going to say, we have some angels who catch up with them, and in the version I'm reading, it is over the sea.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I think they are. So I think they are flying.
So it's actual flight. Okay, there we go.
I think so. Overtook or she could have a ship motor in the back of her, like a cartoon character when they reach the ocean.
Sure.
It just has those legs that yeah. So either that's happening or she has wings.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. But yeah, actually, Keenan, that makes sense, because in some versions it's only after she utters God's name that like she sprouts wings and is able to fly. So she becomes like the act of uttering God's like true name, turns her into a demon.
Right.
So she couldn't fly before, but she does now, right?
It's not a good. It's you're forbidden from doing that. You're forbidden from calling God by his real name.
Yeah, and I think this is the first instance of, and of course it would be talking about a lady, but this is the first instance where we have humans and demons. Like, a human can become a demon, right? Because remember we talked about, it's like, when I was little, I thought, when I died and if I go to heaven, I become an angel. I get my little harp, I get my little halo, and I gotta go through like angel orientation, or if I end up going down there, I get a little pitchfork and a little, my little red leotard, and and I become a devil. But then later on in Christian Abrahamic mythology, you learn it's like, no, they're completely separate beings, right? Like you can't turn into a demon. You're just you go to hell and you're being tortured by them, right? But now it's like, well, except maybe women.
Right, exactly.
They can turn into
right. Of course, if you were able to turn into an angel, you would go up there and you have your orientation day. If you were able to turn into a demon, you'd go down to hell, and every day would be an orientation day. And you'd have to reselect your emergency contact info every single day, and get your copies of your state ID and your social security card every single day.
You'd have to watch that little video again. Right?
About the history of the company. The org chart comes down, and it's bigger every day. Every day the org chart is bigger.
Right. And you're filling out that little thing. It's like this was on my resume, and then it was on the application that I had to fill out, and they're asking for it again. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact day and month of my previous employers. Like,
right. What was your boss's last name?
Yeah.
I know you worked in retail, but what was your boss's last name?
and we're talking about the regional boss, by the way. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So back to Lilith. So now in this tale, right? She has fled. She has left the building. She's left Eden, right? Now in this tale, 3 angels are sent to find her and bring her back to Eden. But when they find her, she says she's not going back. Again, where's my 10 card? We were using that for Paradise Lost. We were rating the arguments of Adam and Eve. So holding this up, right? She doesn't want to go back, guys. Right?
Why would she?
However, as punishment, these 3 angels promise to kill 100 of her demon children every day. And I got worried here. I was like, oh, no, Gabriel, Raphael, Michael, what are you guys doing? You're on the wrong side, guys. But it's not them. It's 3 random angels named Sanvi, Sanvi, and Samangaloth. And guess what? You can't find them anywhere else. They appear exclusively in this medieval text, this frustrated middle-aged text. They're not mentioned in any canonical religious texts like Bible or the Torah, nor do they appear in other major angelological. I did say that right.
You said it right the first time, and then you were like, no, that can't be right.
It just sounds wrong. Okay. Angelological. Yes, angelological. That is it. That's how you say it.
It's got lol in the middle.
I know. Yeah, any other works about angels, and not even in the Book of Enoch or other apocryphal texts.
Right.
So.
They are made-up people here, maybe to spare, like you're saying, like Gabriel and Raphael and the angels that we like, maybe for sparing them this kind of really harsh retribution.
Yeah.
I don't know where this comes from, right? You're going to, first of all, you're going to have children anyways. You've divorced your husband, apparently, but you're going to keep having children. They're going to be demon children, and you're going to have to suffer 100 of them dying every day.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. But yeah, folks, Lilith does not take this quietly either. She shoots back, saying whenever a human child is born, she, Lilith, will claim dominion over that child for a time. 8 days for boys and 20 days for girls. Unless, and she gives them a sporting chance, she says, unless that child is wearing an amulet with one of these angels' names written on it. Right? Sounds familiar. Right? I think we talked about, that was in Testament of Solomon. We were talking about Abzuth, right? The head with the snaky hair, right? She eats babies or kills babies, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it was but she was you had to write the name Raphael on an amulet.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it is kind of sounding familiar, folks. Kind of sounding like something that maybe we've covered before. Right? I'm not talking about Testament of Solomon, but we got to go even further back. So let's hop into the Magic School Bus, kids. We're going all the way back to ancient Sumeria.
There must be some permission slip problem going to ancient Sumeria, but you know, I'll let Miss Frizzle deal with that.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, everybody!
Yeah. Let's take a trip in your mind. I don't know why she sounds like Julia Child. She
sounds
doesn't
like
sound.
Julia Child.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, there's no seatbelts. Remember, there's no seatbelt on a school bus, magic or otherwise.
Yes.
We've decided that's not a thing.
Yeah. You shouldn't need seatbelts for knowledge. Why restrain yourself? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So like whatever noise the Magic School Bus makes, right? It's like now we're here, right?
Okay. Great.
We are in ancient Sumeria. Now, hang on a second. This place looks oddly familiar. I feel like we have been here before. So, Keenan, this was the thing that I wanted to drop, and I was confident that you had not found it yet, just because, like, based on our first show, like this would be the thing that comes up.
Yeah.
But okay, so it sounds like you know what I'm talking about.
I do, and that's pretty crazy. That's really
It
fun.
is. Yeah.
Well, like I was saying,
And we're just going to leave you listeners in the dark. We're just not...
Yeah, that was really great. Let's get back on the Magic School Bus and head back to America.
Yeah.
In 2024. There's so many connections between Lilith and a lot of the stuff we've talked about, but this is the one I think that. Yeah.
So we're speaking specifically about people have found a connection between Lilith and our very own Lamashtu.
Lamashtu.
Lamashtu, it's Lamashtu, everybody. Hey, Lamashtu's here. Right.
For people who haven't listened to our Exorcist show and are discovering this show on their own, we should, I guess, say Lamashtu is the ex-wife of Pazuzu.
Yes, right.
Who is usually considered the demon in the Exorcist book and movie.
Yes. And so when we were doing that movie, we did kind of a deep dive into Pazuzu, and we found actually just kind of this special treat, this very interesting character of Lamashtu, who's not really mentioned in the book or movie, except maybe like one tiny little thing that the curator mentions when our Father Marin, our first old priest, he picks up an amulet or like just kind of like a little stone head of Pazuzu, and the curator, who is his friend, says evil against evil, and what he is referring to is that religion believed that Lamashtu was this fearsome demoness. She was the daughter of the sky god Anu, but she was one of the most terrifying demons, and she would specifically target children. She would go after them. She would go after women, and she would go after pregnant women, cause them to miscarry, and all sorts of other things. And she was terrifying. And part of her lore was that she used to be married to Pazuzu, who is the demon king of the southwest wind. And even though he was another demon, you would have a lot of women and children protecting themselves with images or little statues or amulets of Pazuzu because Lamashtu and Pazuzu had gotten divorced, and apparently, like they hated the sight of each other, and they couldn't, be in the same room with each other. Right. So that would be one way that you would ward off Lamashtu, would be to have this little amulet with Pazuzu on it.
Right. Yeah. So you would kind of align yourself with Pazuzu, even if you weren't worshiping Pazuzu, right? Because he was a demon. You would sort of align yourself with him during the most vulnerable parts of a woman's pregnancy and when the baby was born. And it's interesting. So in our Lilith story so far, we have these little amulets of angels that she's agreeing to like that she will become vulnerable to, that she'll be warded off by these amulets of angels, right? Similar to Abzoth being warded off by Raphael, but in the Sumerian religion, it was demon against demon, evil against evil. Right. And that's the explanation of that one weird line in The Exorcist. Yeah. And I don't know how relevant this will be, but in The Exorcist Believer, which is the newest Exorcist movie, they in the credits credit the voice actor of that demon as Lamashtu. Right. Which might have been some plan that they had where they would, in subsequent sequels to that movie, Exorcist Believer, gone into more, but from all accounts now in 2024, they've scrapped the plans that they had for the original sequels to Believer, so we don't know if they'll come back to that thread that Lamashtu is that demon or that we see her more bodily. Yeah. I saw it like since then. I've seen like a picture because you see her very, very briefly. There's just like a little flash, right, in the actual movie. But like you can go online and you can see this demon in all her glory. And it's interesting. But yeah, like they never mention it. Like it's never mentioned in the movie at all. Right. So yeah, but yeah, no, like that's. I would like to see a Pazuzu Lamashtu story. I'd like to see them get along. You know what? Bury the hatchet. How many years? Bury the hatchet in Burke Dennings' skull, and let's go. Come on. I was so happy when I discovered that, Keenan. I was like, Lamashtu. Yeah. All of our work is not for naught. Right? People will think we knew what we were doing. Now, in addition to Lamashtu, it is here that we uncover accounts of not a single, but a group of creatures known as the Lilitu.
It can be translated as night creature. These were malevolent spirits associated with the night and the wind. Sickness and death were said to follow in their wake. One of the earliest written references to the Lilitu is the Sumerian text Inanna and the Hulupu tree.
Yes, Inanna and the Hulupu tree.
Yes.
We all know that. We've all read that.
I read that in the. It came as a collection. It was along with the appointment in Samara. Yes. And Finnegan's Wake just kind of wrapped it all up.
Right. But why don't you explain what Inanna and the Hulupu tree are for those of our listeners who?
Can there possibly be anybody who doesn't understand? We all know that.
Well,
easy as ABC, Up is up and down is down. The sky is blue, and there's a Hulupu tree where Inanna is. Okay. So in this story, Inanna, the goddess of love and war, she is nurturing a tree that has become inhabited by various creatures, including a serpent which has infested its roots, an anzu bird which has made a home in its branches, and a lilitu, described as a dark maid living in the tree's trunk. And then our buddy Gilgamesh arrives. He slays the serpent and drives the anzu bird and the lilitu out into the wilderness. And that is something to kind of hold on to, the fact that the anzu bird and the lilitu they're both sent to the same place, and they're dealt with in the same thought, the same sentence, right? Like he kills the snake, and then he sends these two creatures away, right? Now, you may notice a lot of owl imagery associated with Lilith. That's because, once again, what we have come to recognize as the name Lilitu can also be translated as screech owl or screech owls. Isaiah 34:14 says, "Desert creatures will meet with hyenas, and wild goats will bleat to each other. There the night creatures will also lie down and find for themselves a place of rest," right? And it's, Lilitu is the word there.
And that's all about that's about condemning this country that has not worshipped the true God and saying that's going to happen over there.
Yes.
I forget Elam or one of the kingdoms over there.
Right. Yeah. Right. And depending on which translation of the Bible, you get the Lilitu referred to as different things, right? Some of them translate it as screech owls, and some of them translate it as Lilith, right? So not even a Lilith, but the capital L Lilith. Right. Lilith herself will lie down and find for herself a place of rest. Right?
So that makes her scriptural, baby.
Yup. But yeah, folks, as I was looking at these different translations, and I was surprised to see that the King James Version, which is, all about witches and demons and all of that stuff, right? It translates Lilitu as screech owls. So it's the one saying that this is just an owl, right? And it's later translations, including the New Revised Standard Version, that translate it as Lilith.
Yeah, that's interesting because recently, so I'm remembering this pretty rawly, because recently, after some of our talk on our show, I went and posted parts of Matthew chapter 6 of you cannot serve God and money. So I posted that part, right? So no one can serve two masters. A slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one, despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. And I'd used the New Revised Standard Version, and people were saying, "Oh, you're misunderstanding," because it really says you cannot serve God and mammon, right?
Really? They were correcting you the other way.
Yes, they were correcting me. They was like, "Oh, you just can't win. You just can't win when you're using this." Right. So sometimes in a lot of the older versions that we talked about in the show, they're using the names of demons as metaphors, or saying that they're literal demons, right? And that a lot of times in the New Revised Standard Version, or newer ones in general, they are taking out the metaphorical or demonic names and just putting the quality of them.
Right. Yeah. I think our favorite punching bag for that one is, well, aside from Mammon, because that's just such an easy, clear-cut one.
Right.
But then we also got Belial, which just means worthless, right? And you have perfect examples of, because in the Bible, various groups of people are referred to as the sons of Belial. And we know that sons of just means kind of like, oh, these are the people who do this thing or are this thing, right? So, we have the sons of iniquity or the sons of chaos, and then we have the sons of Belial, and Belial just means worthless, right? So it's like just these worthless people, right? But yeah, same with Lilith or Lilitu. You can look at that and you can say that is a that is a lowercase like a proper noun, or that's an adjective, or you can say, you know what, I think that's a name, and I think that's like this being, and that's how we get all the fun, demon lore here on this show.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. So let's go that way. Let's say that Lilitu means or is Lilith, and Lilith is the Lilith that we know about. Right. Now in the Talmud, she is referred to a total of 4 times, but never as Adam's wife. She is a night demon who preys on newborns, but then also specifically targets men, stealing their semen for the purpose of creating more demon offspring. So,
and that is usually in like nocturnal emissions, right?
Right. So anytime you have a wet dream, right?
Right. That's Lilith there. Yeah. So that's common that we have these fears of succubi, right? Who do that. So Lilith is doing. I don't think that we're saying Lilith is a succubus, but that she's essentially doing the same thing as a lot of succubi do.
Right. I have heard. So there are interpretations of her as a succubi, as a succubus, and as a vampire. Like man, she's like she covers all the bases. Like she is in all those 7 categories. She is like any video game you want to play a vampire video game.
Right.
Who's the main boss, right? If it's not Dracula, it's going to be Lilith, right?
Yeah, I was trying to find where that came from because I saw that Lilith as the mother of demons, but also mother of vampires, and all the sources I got were like I'm clearly in some wikia that's about some specific video game or something, and it wouldn't say what. It's all like writing it as if this were fact. So I didn't know where that explained it. But yeah, Lilith as the mother of demons, mother of vampires. So sure, she's the mother of succubuses, whatever.
Sure, yeah. Right. Now, okay, so Shabbat 151b states that it is forbidden for a man to sleep alone in his house, lest Lilith get a hold of him. And Nida 24b depicted her as a winged creature with a human face.
I wanted to talk about Nida 24b, which also says that if an abortion, which I think means abortion, but also miscarriage, I believe, you can correct me. So if it has the likeness of Lilith, then its mother is unclean. So like
what
we could
is
judge
a
woman. Well, if the aborted fetus or if the miscarriage looks like Lilith, whatever that means, then we can judge the mother for it.
Wow. Well, gee, I wonder who wrote that.
But you can imagine, them trying to adjudicate things like that and be like, oh, no, it is. And then, how do you fight against saying, like, that does not look like Lilith to me?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's really easy because we don't have a fucking picture of Lilith.
No.
It's making me mad all over again. But yeah, okay. Yeah. Oy. Okay, well, let's talk about her as the queen of demons.
Yeah.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen. I don't know if I took that out or not, but like I'm envious of the way folks can do that well with like there's like 7 vowels in that thing. Yes. Okay. Oh.
You did it.
I think I did.
You did it, queen.
How do you spell that? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, but yeah. Okay. So we also mentioned that Jewish folklore has her marrying Asmodeus. Right? Asmodeus. And in this lore, there is no Satan or Lucifer. Asmodeus is the king of demons, and Lilith is his queen. Now, some texts have her paired with Samael instead. We're definitely going to get to him later.
Good.
Yeah, the name is often translated as, quote, venom of God or poison of God. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, how do we not do an episode on him? That's great.
Right?
This is the first I'd heard of him, and I was fascinated by Samael.
Yeah, we gotta get some Samael later. In various Jewish texts, he appears in different roles. Sometimes he is the angel of death. Sometimes he is an accuser or prosecutor. And in some Talmudic and Midrashic sources, he is portrayed as the chief of the Satans. That's lowercase s, right? But still ultimately serving divine purposes.
Right.
And so, like all of combine all of those things, and he is also identified with a capital S, Satan, right? As an accuser, as the chief of all the adversaries and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And so, like what I'm saying is, right, between Satan, Beelzebub, Asmodeus, and Samael, I like that in our show about the history of the evolution of the devil, we can't figure out who the king of demons is, but one thing's for sure, Lilith is the queen. There's no other like she's the one, like whoever the king is, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll figure that out, right? That's up for interpretation, whatever, right? But Lilith is the queen.
Right.
So I like that.
Like Elsa from Frozen.
There you go.
Right.
Wait, how?
That's what she says. It's a kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen.
Ah, there we go.
Like
Yeah,
she just
yeah.
looks. She's like, oh, I guess I am.
Yeah.
There's nobody else here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is all queens of kingdoms of isolation? Raise your hand. Oh, just me. All right.
Just me. Just me.
Look at that. All right. Okay, yeah. And so from these ancient texts, we have two distinct images of Lilith, right? We have a human woman and Adam's first wife, and a winged demon associated with the night. It's almost as if these two texts aren't talking about the same being. Personally, I think that's what's going on here. I think we have maybe a Lucifer and Semyaza situation going on, right? Remember, Lucifer didn't mean Lucifer at first, but when scholars said that the story of Semyaza and his rebel angels was no longer canon, people got bummed, and they searched really hard through the accepted canon, seeing if they could find some connection, some mention of an angel that fell.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happening here. I think the existence of these two creation accounts is too glaring for people to just like move on from. They wanted answers, and it's always fascinating in history and stories to see where and how people connected the dots and which dots they decided to connect.
Yeah, that takes us back to some of our earliest episodes on the devil, and we were talking about how, in many ways, the devil needed to be invented.
Yes.
In order to fill in these gaps and to try to answer the problem of evil, and to try to reconcile this part of our religion with the other part of our religion. How do you put these things together? If it's just a lowercase Satan in the Old Testament, it doesn't make a lot of sense in the New Testament. And then what do we do with Revelation? Just how do we put all this stuff together? So it seems similarly like we needed to invent Lilith, or like take her from this one spot and to use her in order to fill in the gaps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, it has also been theorized that Lilith was the snake in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, I knew it was her the whole time. I knew it was her.
Yeah. What does that say? It was Agatha all along? Right?
Yeah, it was Agatha all
Yeah.
along.
Right. I actually, Keenan, I like that because it took us until the 17th century for Milton to square the circle of like a fallen angel who, goes from heaven to hell through all of chaos and creation, and then to earth, where he finally like hijacks a pre-existing snake, right? It's like a lot of miles covered to explain how that works, right? And a lot of stanzas, actually. But if she's already in Eden, right, or if she just left it, right, that's just more, Satan, work smarter, not harder. Come on.
Right, so that she is the serpent, or in league with the serpent, right? That it's the fall of man is therefore then a revenge story, right, for Lilith being spurned. So that makes a lot of sense. It personalizes it, right? That is easier to understand, I think, than even the beautiful stuff in Paradise Lost of the jealousy between the succession plan, essentially, between God the Father and God the Son, and all of that. Like this one is more human.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for understand. We would be like, well, I empathize with Lilith. I could see why that would happen, or that's happened to me, where I feel jilted by somebody, and then I see that they get back to me because they are an ex, and that's the reason why they're doing that. Like both sides of that are very human and very understandable.
I just realized this, Keenan.
Yeah.
A huge chunk of the blame of humanity's fall, right, comes from Eve biting the apple, right? So
right. So we blame Eve.
It's her
right.
fault. She's
right.
She's more susceptible to the devil's wiles. She's she's the woman. She's easier to trick and whatever, right? And she's got wiles of her own or whatever. And I just realized that if you have this story now, if you rework it with this story. It is even more a woman's fault.
Yeah.
It on both sides. It's like you can be like, it's like no. It wasn't Eve. Eve, Adam would have fallen just the same. It was this tricky snake. The snake was so tricky that he just happened to get Eve. So it's not a commentary on women that it's Eve. So stop doing that. And these frustrated old men where they're like, well, Well, the snake was a woman too. You can't get away from it.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh.
That the woman who refused to be subservient to Adam was too strong and, had too much agency, and then she was able to manipulate the one who was subservient to Adam, who had less agency and less power. And so it's the strength of women bad, the weakness of women bad.
Yeah. Wow. Great job, interpreters of the Bible. Wow. But okay, well, let's talk about Lilith in contemporary culture. Right? She has undergone a remarkable transformation from a figure of terror to one of empowerment. This reclamation,
both of them.
epitome. This reclaiming began in earnest during the second wave feminist movement of the 1960s, when Jewish feminist theologians and writers began reinterpreting Lilith's story as one of resistance against patriarchal authority. Her refusal to submit to Adam has been recast as an early assertion of women's autonomy and equality. Modern feminist scholars have identified several key aspects of Lilith that resonate with contemporary issues, including but not limited to sexual autonomy and self-determination, reproductive rights, and a woman's right to control her own body, religious authority, challenging patriarchal religious structures, and social, societal, and workplace equality, doing away with that goddamn glass ceiling.
I've also seen Lilith in Wiccan culture, right, and like witch culture.
Yes.
Some branches of Wicca or some other witch religions and pagan religions associate Lilith with the goddess, or at least a version of the goddess. And they see the way that their pagan religions and native religions have been oppressed by like patriarchal religions as associated with the Lilith story.
From what I have read, it comes down to the individual witch, where the idea is that you worship the god and the goddess, right? And the god and the goddess are representatives of all, masculine energy and positive masculine energy and positive feminine energy, right? And each individual witch can kind of like choose an avatar for the goddess.
Right.
So you can even have, I actually personally know a Christian witch who uses like the image that she uses for the goddess is the Virgin Mary.
Yes, I was seeing that as well, that your friend is not the only one who unites Lilith and the Virgin Mary together.
Yeah, and it's because, right, according to this religion, all of these female figures, right, the Virgin Mary, Lilith, Athena, Freya from Norse mythology.
I've seen Diana.
Medusa, Arachne, like all of these female figures are reflections of the one, the goddess.
Right.
And so you kind of get to like choose which one you identify with the most, right? And I know like a couple of witches who were raised Catholic or they were raised Christian, and they're like, well, yeah, I want to celebrate the female spirit, the goddess. I'm more familiar with, and I've become kind of like, I've developed this relationship with the Virgin Mary, so she becomes the face for the goddess, right? And usually, right, if you're a Christian witch, the god is a statue of Jesus. Yeah. But yeah, Lilith certainly is used for the goddess in that respect, yeah. But also, and this is interesting, modern Jewish feminists have particularly embraced Lilith as a symbol of empowerment, even creating new rituals incorporating Lilith as a positive figure. The practice of Rosh Chodesh, I hope I'm saying that right, it translates to new moon. These celebrations sometimes include recognition of Lilith. Contemporary female rabbis have reinterpreted the Lilith narrative in sermons and teachings. And then we got Lilith magazine, founded in 1976. It became a leading voice for Jewish feminist thought. And yes, Lilith has become a powerful symbol in feminist psychology and social theory as well. Some therapists use the Lilith archetype to help women process experiences of oppression and empowerment. The concept of quote, Lilith consciousness has emerged in feminist spirituality, representing awakened female power. Academic feminist theory has examined Lilith as a case study in how patriarchal societies demonize independent women. The Lilith complex has been proposed as a counterpoint to the Eve complex, representing women who refuse to be subordinate. So this redefining of Lilith also gained significant momentum through literature. Judith Plasko's 1972 story, The Coming of Lilith, reimagined the narrative as one of female solidarity, depicting Lilith and Eve forming a friendship and sharing knowledge. I like them being friends.
I like that.
They-
Right.
that
Why should they be mad at each other?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with their relationship, right?
Adam, you just go over there and yeah. Right. But yeah, and this helped establish Lilith as a symbol of women's liberation and sisterhood. Now, contemporary authors have continued this tradition. We got Gloria Naylor's Linden Hills, this is 1985, uses Lilith imagery to explore black feminist themes. We got Anne Rice's Memnoch the Devil, presenting Lilith as a complex figure of female power. And various feminist poets, including Robin Morgan and Enid Dame, have written verses celebrating Lilith's defiance. And of course, you got Sarah McLachlan creating her groundbreaking all-female music festival, Lilith Fair.
Yeah, I told my boyfriend we were doing an episode on Lilith, and he asked, is that related to Lilith Fair? He was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, also, Lilith's influence extends into popular culture. In television shows like Supernatural, True Blood, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, right, have featured Lilith-inspired characters. Comic books and graphic novels often portray Lilith as a powerful, complex anti-hero. She's inspired numerous rock songs and metal bands. Video games frequently include Lilith as a powerful female character. I believe in the latest Diablo game, she's the boss. I grew up playing the first Diablo. I might have to revisit that franchise, actually.
I have not played that, but I know our friend Ian Hinden plays Diablo, or at least familiar with it. But I first heard the word Lilith in a video game, like as a demon, in the Final Fantasy series. She was a minor. She wasn't a boss. She was just like something you would encounter in the fields. And I assumed that they were talking about Lilith Sternin. That's Lilith Sternin Crane from Cheers and from Frasier. Right. So I was like, oh, that's odd. That she's like this giant monster with a tail that wraps around her, kind of like if Jabba the Hutt was longer rather than squatter.
Okay.
That's
like
the Lilith I knew.
Maybe like a Lamia, I think.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
It's like a mermaid, but a snake.
Oh, yeah, that must be what that is. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I think Lilith must be named after Lilith, right? Lilith Sternin must be named after Lilith,
Wait,
right?
Like Lilith is named after Lilith? Or
Yeah,
Lilith
right?
Is named
You're right.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
must be.
Exactly.
No, Lilith Crane, Frasier's wife.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's sort of the fun of that character is that Lilith is crazy over Diane, who is flighty and very feminine and not intellectual. And then it turns out that the woman that he does marry is Lilith, who is cold and trying to have what we might, from her point of view, she's trying to be equal, but from Frasier's point of view, like she just kind of potentially getting in the way of him hanging out at Cheers and you know doing his man stuff, right? And then he becomes kind of cowed by Lilith as the rest of the show goes on. And then in Frasier, he's divorced from Lilith and is living his bachelorhood again, and she's like this devilish character who can show up at any time and ruin Frasier's fun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
She's the best.
Yeah, no, she is.
She's the funniest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we will encounter Lilith again briefly. So as sort of a flash forward, once we get back to Faust, she is mentioned in Goethe's version of Faust, which seems to be replacing Helen of Troy in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Helen of Troy is not in Goethe's Faust, but he is in Dr. Faustus.
There is a bit of it. Oh, maybe it's in the
They-
B-text. Maybe
they kind of,
I mean, not the B-text. They're maybe in the. Oh my God! Yeah. Oh yeah, guys, just wait. Goethe's Faust has. It doesn't have an A-text and a B-text, but it has like a part 1 and a part 2.
And a part 2. What I saw is that they talk about Helen as in Helen of Troy, but Lilith is an actual character in Goethe in that one. So yeah, so that's how I mean they replace it,
Okay.
which is very different, right? Like the Helen of Troy is like this woman that we just think is so beautiful that we're willing to destroy all of civilization for. And Lilith is one who destroyed all of civilization because we didn't want her in many ways, or because we couldn't conquer her.
I think more because she wanted to do her own thing.
Right, exactly.
We wanted her to do
We wanted
something
her,
else.
right. But we didn't like if she was going to be independent. We didn't want her.
Right. Yeah.
And the independence of Helen of Troy. Obviously, there are other like. What do you call them? Like plays on the Iliad that like with Lilith, where they've like let's rethink about this from the point of view of Helen of Troy. But in the actual text itself, in the traditional thinking of it, Helen doesn't really have agency at all, and it doesn't even matter if Paris wants her or not. Like the gods have decided that she will be won by Paris, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They never ask her who she'd rather be with, the Greeks or the Trojans.
No.
Right. So we'll come back to Lilith in a couple of different ways as we go forward in the show.
Yeah, right. I'm excited. I'm excited to revisit. That's going to be like a nice little Easter egg every time we're kinda, like, looking through some of these dusty tomes and we get a mention of Lilith. That's going to be like a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Folks, this has been The Devil's Details. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can summon me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz, and you could summon me on Instagram and Letterboxd as Howdy Keenan.
Find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at True Story FM. Like us on Instagram, or feel free to drop us a message at bananaforscalemail, that's MAIL.com, or at gmail.com. We also got our listener group, Banana for Scale. That's a community for all of our shows, including this one. It's a private group, but just request to join and we'll let you in. If you want more, consider joining us at truestory.fm/join and look for Banana for Scale. That's us. You get bonus episodes of all of our shows, access to our Discord, and you get your episodes a week early. Pretty cool. Just $5 for all of that. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5 pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right, folks. It's getting kind of hot in here. I can feel the fires are burning. So until next week, love and hisses. Mwah!